It has been 9 weeks since nearly 300 girls were kidnapped from their school by the terrorist group Boko Haram in Nigeria. I believe that the United States should have provided immediate surveillance, reconnaissance, and intelligence assets to locate these girls before they were split up into more difficult to find smaller groups. I further believe that contingency plans should have been made so that our special forces, who performed so extraordinarily well, as we saw during this past weekend with their capture of the terrorists who led the Benghazi attack, should have been on the ground working with Nigerian forces to plan a rescue of these girls. Mr. Secretary, with each passing day, the future of these girls grows more and more precarious. There's no doubt that some of them have already been forced into early marriages. Others have been taken across the border and sold into slavery. All have been required to convert to Islam, according to the video that we've all seen. Yet it feels like these girls have been forgotten, pushed off the front pages by a string of endless crises. I've made my concerns known to the administration in several venues about my disappointment that we did not act sooner and more aggressively to help rescue these girls, working with the Nigerians. Could you tell me, my question for you is this an urgent priority? What is going on now?
Senator, I can assure you this president feels exactly the same as you do, as we all do, as you have framed it up and laid out the tragedy of this, the urgency of this. But let me also address your questions about why wasn't there more action quicker, so on. First, as you know, we cannot just drop into a sovereign country without that country's government asking us for assistance. That country, Nigeria, has an elected government, elected president. So we were preparing, once we heard and knew what was going on, also working with them diplomatically to get a request from them for each of the resources that we were able to provide and still are providing. That's one. Second, the capability of the Nigerian forces to be able to carry out what we can give them in the way of intelligence or assistance is still their responsibility. They have limited capabilities. Now, I know that's not a good answer, but that's the reality. We are as focused as today on helping locate these girls, doing everything we can to get them out of there. But this is a sovereign nation, and we require, obviously like any other situation, the government to ask us to come in. They give us the limits and the parameters on where we can operate, how we can operate. The other part of this too, as you know, is this is about terrain-wise as complicated a part of the world as there is. They got triple, quadruple canopy jungles. They move them around. These are deadly smart guys, Boko Haram. So we're up against that as well. So unless the chairman would like to add anything to this, that would be my general assessment. But make no mistake, Senator, this president, all of us are as committed to this, even though you don't read it in the front pages because of the reasons you mentioned. We're still involved and we're still assisting.
Well, time is ticking away, and with each passing day, the chances of these girls being reunited with their families grows ever dimmer. And the fact is the Nigerians did say yes. I realize they didn't say yes immediately. And it seems to me we should have had a plan so that when they said yes, we could swoop right in.
Well, we did as much as they would let us do, and if you want to get down to the details of the operation, I'll let General.
Well,
Dempsey
I just want to
address
assure you, Senator, we didn't wait for the Nigerians to ask or respond to our question. The military, under the Secretary's leadership, began repositioning resources when we saw this occurring. But I do, so two things. I do want to bring us back to this budget hearing. We are where we are around the world today because we can be and we can respond. It may not have been adequate to this task, but we are certainly adequate to a lot of tasks, and that capability is eroding while we sit here.
Well, let me switch to another issue, but let me first just say that I specifically asked whether there was contingency planning for special forces to go in and was told that there was not. So I'm glad to hear you contradict that, but that is not the answer that.
Well, let me distinguish between moving assets in the event that we are given permission to use them and contingency planning. And also, Senator, the Abu Khatala operation, though it may have looked, rather routine, it took us months of preparation and intelligence soak.
That's exactly my point. I mean, from day one, I think we should have been working on this. And I know how meticulous and difficult an operation that our special forces is involved in is, but that's sort of part of my frustration.